Good afternoon and welcome to the February 3rd meeting of the Orange County Board of Education. For the benefit of the record, this regular meeting is now called to order. Roll call, Daru.
Trustee Valdez.
Present.
Trustee Shaw.
Here.
Trustee Barkey.
Here.
Trustee Williams.
Present.
Trustee Sparks.
Here.
Wonderful. May I have a motion for the adoption of today's agenda?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, contributions? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. May I have a motion for approval of the minutes from the January 8th meeting?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Again, the motion is approved 5-0. Do we have any public comments for closed session, Renee? Very good. At this time, we will be in closed session for about an hour. Good evening and welcome back. The board started our meeting and went to closed session back about an hour or so. We are out of closed session. We're going to begin the formal meeting. So we've already adopted our agenda. We've adopted our minutes. We will have public comments in just a few moments here. But before that, we have some regular protocols that we follow here. And that protocol is to start with an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask the good Reverend Nathan Hill from the Church of the Foothills to come up and lead us with our invocation. You may stand or sit or bow your head or whatever it is that you want to do. I'm going to stand. Thank you.
I'll stand with you.
Good evening. I stand here both as a pastor and also proud son of a public educator. So I invite you to prepare yourself in the manner into which you are accustomed and as you feel comfortable. God of love and life, thank you for the gift of our brains, for the daily opportunity to learn and grow, to have our minds changed even when we don't want them to be changed, for curious questions and new insights, for mentors and educators of all kinds, for schools and libraries, for public servants who serve the greater good. Bless the work to be done this evening, supporting and encouraging students, teachers, and staff. Help us remember that for some young people, school is their one safe space to wrestle with big ideas, push themselves, find community, and learn who they are and what they can offer the world. May these leaders fiercely protect that space. We meet in a time of challenge when stress and anxiety of all kinds threatens to divide us. Comfort the vulnerable families in our county, especially immigrant families, especially those with children who have special needs. Be with those who are afraid about the future, who are shouldered with big questions, who are worried about college acceptance letters or even where their next meal will come from. Challenge us to stand together with those vulnerable and afraid. Help them be heard and assured that they are welcome here. May we always find beauty in our differences, that we all come together with different needs, stories, faiths, and hopes. Help us truly listen to one another and work for a future where we all may thrive. With deep gratitude for all who have educated me, advocated for me, poured into me, and for the work of so many across this county who serve with humility and compassion, I say thanks be to God. Amen.
Amen. And if you would like to please stand as we have Captain Wilkerson from the U.S. Army lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Captain.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started with the Pledge of Allegiance and just follow along. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Thank you, Captain. And who was it that stuttered? Who? Somebody stuttered. Okay. Seriously, let's move on with our meeting. Introductions.
Dr. Bean, please.
All right. Well, it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Sandra Lee as OCD's new Associate Superintendent of Educational Services. So if I can read a bio as you stand. Dr. Lee is a distinguished educator and innovative leader with a proven track record of advancing student achievement. Her 19-year career spans roles as a teacher, literacy coach, principal, district administrator, consultant, and professor. She has led transformative initiatives in curriculum development, professional learning, and instructional leadership, earning recognition at local, state, and national levels. Through a pretty extensive search process, in which included district partners and include many staff here, we unanimously and enthusiastically recommended Dr. Lee to be our new Associate Superintendent. So let's welcome Dr. Lee.
Welcome.
Dr. Lee, on behalf of the board, welcome. It's good to see you. And I'm going to take the privilege to just pull from our agenda, and because our attorney needs to leave, we're going to have a report from the closed session.
Good evening, President of the Board, Vice President and Superintendent Bean, members of the board, good to be with you this evening. This is the report out for closed session item number 1, which was the only closed session item on the agenda. The board conducted a meeting with council. All board members were present and no action was taken. That's the report out for closed session item number 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brenner. Okay, we're going to have public comments. Trustee
right.
Barkey.
Yes, we have 3. So Stephanie Smith will be first. Oh, I'm sorry, Stephen Smith. And then Heidi, you'll follow Stephen. And following Stephen will be Lynn Riddle. I mean, following Heidi. Oh, my goodness. It's been a long day.
Okay, and just to let the board and the audience know, we have a new timer. You can see the clock right here.
Yeah.
So it's going to start at 3 minutes. And as it
ready.
gets to, it's going to flash and yellow at 1 minute.
And 30 seconds is solid.
And 30 seconds it's solid. And you will then get a very loud beeper at the time, 3 minutes.
All right.
And so,
Go.
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 Yes.
All right. I'm going to read my speech. I don't like to, but I have to because I got 3 minutes. All right. The County Department of Education's budget and expenses have been an important topic for the board in recent meetings, and I agree that they should be. So I thought I'd do a little investigating. Did you know that legal expenses for the board and superintendent have dramatically increased in the last 6 years? This expense category was an easy one to review because legal expenses were summarized on page 19 of the budget book that I reviewed in December, entitled Legal Fees Report. Page 19, if you haven't had a chance to look at it. Report lists legal fees for various categories for the last 11 years. Did anyone have a chance to review it? Here's what the report shows. In the first 5 fiscal years, 2014 to 2017, 18, 19, or 17, 18, you and the superintendent spent a combined total of $51,600 in legal fees. That breaks down to $8,400 for the superintendent, $43,200 for the board. In the next 6 years, the legal fees dramatically increased. Between 2018-19 and 2023-24, 6 years, the superintendent spent $2,492,800 in legal fees. The Board of Education more than doubled the superintendent's fees to spend $5,344,800. This year's budget shows about $225,000 for the superintendent and $600,000 for the board, for a total of $825,000. I have to ask, what happened for legal fees to increase from $51,600 over 5 years to $7.8 million over 6 years? I've read that the board and the previous superintendent have been in a battle over travel expenses, budget approvals, and oversight. I don't know how much of the expenses have been over this or other issues that require outside legal service. However, the increase seems to be surprising, to say the least. Did you know that I have 2 minutes, 9 seconds left? No, I got 1 minute. Got it. You know, despite the battle over over travel, the Department of Education's travel and conference annual budget still increased about 30% in the last 6 years. So whatever the legal expenses, they still increased their travel budget. I'm not suggesting that travel expenses aren't important. I know the speakers of these meetings have questioned the trustees' trips to Washington, D.C. and other expenses they've had. However, I'm questioning the value of $7.8 million. Here's a couple of recommendations. Drop the lawsuits and corresponding legal fees. Get out of the litigation business and devote more time to improving education in Orange County. Start reducing this year's estimate of $825,000 immediately. If you have legal questions, why not ask the Department of Education's legal staff? They have 5 attorneys, 1 paralegal, and 2 legal secretaries. Best of all, the new general counsel, as I understand it, is Mr. Greg Rowland, who I think you know very well and trust his judgment. The world is full of problems. I face problems in work. I used to look at problems as challenges, and with challenges, always opportunities for improvement. Let's start working on improvements today. Perfect.
Heidi, and Lynn Riddle will follow Heidi.
Very sorry, I've been moving. So, okay. Thank you, board members. As usual, it's not Wednesday, it's Monday. Every month. Okay. So again, to report for Suncoast Prep, we have continued to thrive, and I have another comment from a family. I did the same thing last week, so I want to just kind of add this one. So my name is Elizabeth Brown. I'm a mother of 8. I have been involved with the public school district for 20 years now. I chose to homeschool just under 2 years ago for several reasons and had no experience homeschooling, but through a friend of mine, we found Suncoast. And since we began, it's been an amazing experience. Not only are my kids happy to learn, but we have teachers that make us feel involved more than we ever did when we did in person at the public schools. We get so much support, like the different forms my kids get to learn, and we always have choices on their curriculum and their extracurricular activities. All the teachers are always happy to help and happy to see the kids. We get suggestions on ways to help my kids learn, and they always have time to listen or answer my calls. I wish more schools were like Suncoast, and I can't ever imagine going back to the public school system where my kids seem like a number and my kids dreaded learning. We as parents should have the choice on how our kids learn and where they get to, and when they get to Suncoast, it's an amazing school that provides the tools we need for people like me who had no experience homeschooling. So just some insight of one of the families. Thank you so much always for your support. We appreciate you.
Thank you for always your lovely comments. We do have an additional speaker after Lynn Riddle. We have Captain Wilkerson.
Our collective mission is to guide students toward becoming the best versions of themselves. That statement regarding the work of the Orange County Department of Education is my favorite line that was included in a full-page Orange County Register tribute to, that was sponsored by the Orange County's Contemporary Policy Institute and honoring the work of, retirement, and now the life of Dr. Al-Maharis. We have now lost a friend, but his work, his goodness, his graceful, fundamental human decency is, I believe, not lost on any of us. I join all in the department, each and every one of you, in grieving his loss. Yet I believe we who valued him now rejoice in our remembrances. Let me remind you of a few lines from the tribute that was published that I just mentioned. It recognized our deep gratitude for his principled service and his visionary leadership, his goal to assure equity, access, and opportunity to enrich the lives of all learners, that he never accepted a false choice between either helping each individual student achieve academic excellence or serving their social, emotional, physical, and nutritional needs, that he encouraged all of us in the department, the community, to see, to hear, and to value each other as they and we express ourselves and our values. He helped by reminding us that all lives are enriched by extending welcome and gratitude, but that we diminish ourselves by wariness, suspicion, and judgment. Remember, too, some of his parting retirement words, and I quote, that we at the Department of Education are stewards of the department, serving it diligently and safeguarding it for the future generations. As I stepped away, he said, I will carry with me the cherished memories and the profound sense of pride in all that we have accomplished together. And then he ended with a hope that is now ours to deliver, when he said, I look forward to watching each of you continue to inspire and lead, pushing this organization to, and its students that we serve to even higher heights. I don't know about you, but I believe that he's still watching with hope and confidence that we will all be guiding students and indeed ourselves to even greater heights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. So I am Captain Wilkerson. I'm the company commander of the Huntington Beach Recruiting Company here in Southern California. So I just wanted to first off by saying whenever I get the chance with educators in the room, I'm extremely appreciative because I know from just being here, just obviously being in the education system, like you all are very, very important, and I appreciate your effort and your work. So I don't think it gets enough praise, as well as my mother used to be a teacher as well. So I definitely know all the ins and outs, and then working with a lot of the high schoolers now, I definitely praise the teachers when I do meet them there for all their efforts for getting the students across. But I just wanted to introduce myself. I've been working with a lot of the high schools within Orange County. And I just wanted to let you know, like, the Army's here. We work with the schools and partnerships to provide Plan A options for students. We show them where they can have college benefits, where they can still go to college first and then mix in with doing the Army later. I know we've had a lot of students who've had a second chance come back around with the Army, and a lot of students from within this area may not go into the Army first, but they circle back around. So a lot of the things we like to tell the students and the parents, of course, because they're, to me, the most important part of a lot of the students, is that, hey, like, this is an option to provide scholarships and all that, as well as we work with a lot of the colleges. So I just wanted to say I'm appreciative of everyone here for your work and continuous work. I know it is a, I don't know if it's a thankless job, but I just want to say thank you. And I appreciate everyone giving me this time and for giving me the honor to do the, I'm about to say invocation, I didn't pray, but to do the Pledge of Allegiance. And I really appreciate everyone's effort. And if anyone has any questions or anything of me, I'm here. Like, my recruiters are here within the area. I have a Huntington Beach recruiting station, Lake Forest, Mission Viejo, and a Tustin station. So we're around for any questions or concerns. I'm their company commander, so at the end of the day, it'll all come back to me, good or bad. So I appreciate everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Wilkerson. Is that it, Trustee Barkey? Any
Yes,
more
that's it.
public comments? Wonderful. Moving on with our meeting to consent calendar. May I have a motion for the consent calendar?
So moved.
In a second.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. This is not debatable or discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes for the record 5-0. Moving on to item number 5, charter schools. Ms. Hendrick, any submissions? Oh,
And so your
okay.
binders are right here by the door on your way out. So this month we have Magnolia Science Academy OC material revision to add a facility within the boundaries of the Anaheim Elementary School District and Anaheim Union High School District. So they submitted on January 31st. Their public hearing will be on March 5th with the board action on April 2nd. So as a reminder, that means you'll have 2 public hearings for charters next month.
Okay, very good. And that is it for your report? Very good. Moving on to staff recommendation. We have the adoption of the proclamation recognizing February of this year for the Career and Technical Education Month. We have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Barring none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes for the record 5-0. Moving on to item number 7, board recommendations. May I have a motion? Mr. Valdez, would you like to make the motion?
I move.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so now it's open for board questions.
So it was,
We did it at the
One
same
and two,
time, but
got it,
Mary will
okay.
take the second.
did you want to see our presentation? Or do you want to just vote?
The presentation on number 7? Yes.
Yeah, I think that would be good
Okay.
to see that,
So
yeah.
we can bring that up for you. So based on the feedback we've had from the board in the last few months, so we have contract with a company called Turnkey Marketing. And so you go to the next one, please. And so their objective is to launch a social media campaign on Facebook and Instagram featuring a similar message to the board's educational options in Orange County flyer. Next one, please. And so these will be specific to Facebook and Instagram. Comments will be disabled, but accounts will be set up. So the breakdown is the first round will be for about $12,000, and the budget is allocated for services provided to Turnkey and for the targeted advertising. And so it's targeted to reach 500,000 parents in Orange County with a frequency of 4 to 5 exposures per person. I've learned a whole new language in this year. And the target audience includes parents and school-age children filtered by age and location. And here's kind of the timeline and metrics if the board approves it. The campaign timeline is the proposed campaign duration is 1 to 2 weeks, allowing for effective message repetition and delivery. The timeline can be adjusted based on the timing of key information needed by parents. And then the metrics and analytics is the campaign will track key metrics such as reach, frequency, click-through rates to measure its effectiveness, and detailed reports will be provided to the board. And so it basically will look like the flyer did, but in like a web screen. And so there'll be a video loop or on a carousel. And then the links take them to your board page where it has all the information. And so we're asking for not to exceed $20,000. The first part of it we think is going to be about $12,000, but depending on their metrics on how many people that reaches, it could go up to the 20. So we're hoping that meets the board's.
Sounds good.
It most certainly does.
Do you want me to make a motion to approve?
Well, we don't
I
have a
just-
motion in a second, yeah, so
I
we're
just-
just discussion.
I just wanted to, mention, I put this on the board agenda. I think everybody knows that at the end of '23, we came out with that flyer, which the staff did a great job in developing, and we put it out on paper. And I think we got mixed results on that because I'm not sure how many of the paper flyers made it out there. I know some did, but I anticipated more of an outreach, if 400,000 kids got it. And I did have some people mention it to me, but this year I wanted to come back with something that we control, and we control that message. And so I am asking my colleagues on the board to approve a budget this year of $20,000 to, I think it's part of our mission to make sure that parents know what their options are in Orange County. I can tell my colleagues for certain there are parents in Santa Ana that do not know what these options are. And I'm trying to reach them. I'm trying to reach, all areas of the county. But I can tell you that in areas of Santa Ana, people do not know about these options at all. So I think this is an important agenda item, one of the most important that I plan to bring to the board every year. And I'm asking for approval of the $20,000 budget.
Any comments, Tim?
Oh, only that I thought that looked really great, really cool. Good job.
Yeah, I think it's fabulous.
Lisa?
Ditto.
A couple questions I have. Maybe, George, you may have already thought about these. I always look at what we do as reaching out for not only the parents, promoting whatever opportunities are out there, but also to promote some of the programs like we have here. We have a great CTE program that we've passed a resolution on, and that's going to even be improved upon. And then, of course, there are charter opportunities. There are the traditional neighborhood brick and mortar school that's down the street from the parents that we will be serving. But as far as educating them, is there any specific message that is going to be made or given? I don't know that, and that's important.
Well, this campaign is just targeted towards parents with kids, and it's trying to let people know that they can choose a school inside of their district, which, by the way, a lot of people do not know. A lot of people that I have personally spoken to believe that the only school option they have is the one that the state gives them, at the corner, by their corner. They do not know that they can even request an intra-district transfer, much less an inter-district transfer. So I think, just that type of message, just getting it out to parents who may not know, I think is extremely important. It's part of our mission. I think this is exactly in our wheelhouse. We spent more than $20,000 in '23, right? So I think that's a reasonable number. I like that they were able to do an initial campaign for 12, and then they'll take it up to 12 if needed. So I think it's I think it's a good number. It's a fair number. It's reaching a good amount of people, and I'm asking, all of you to vote yes tonight on this.
George, also, I think not only do people don't know the options exist, they don't realize if they exercise their option at the district that they can come here on appeal. They don't know there's a next step, so I think that's important as well.
So what specifically, Renee, will be the messaging? Have we figured that out yet?
Well, the messaging is the flyer. So if you go back a couple to look at that on the slides. So this is what the messaging. Do you know you have great educational opportunities in Orange County? It says including charter schools and transfers. And then if they click on that to say learn more, it takes you to the board's website.
Oh, okay. I see. And will that include our charter school, our vocational school? Okay.
CCPA, yes.
Okay.
President Williams, may I ask?
Yes.
So we need to know from this board if you also envision us putting something on that advertisement that shares, some districts have what's called open enrollment. So for instance, Santa Ana, they don't have to go to the resident school, but they can actually choose any schools within that district. So is it the vision of this board to include that as an option as well?
It is.
Okay. Thank you.
Is the appeal process outlined clearly on our website, or where is that easily accessible?
Flyer did. I think that
The flyer
flyer
does?
explained it pretty well,
It
that
is,
one.
and
Yeah.
then the transfers. So this is just kind of, so when you click on the transfers, it lays out the whole process on your board website. Your policy about transfers and what's needed.
Is that in Spanish?
You can use Google Translate, yes. Actually, whatever language they want using Google Translate. But the messaging will be whatever the person is using on their Instagram or Facebook. If they're using Spanish or whatever, it'll be in that language.
So if it is Vietnamese, Spanish, or whatever, they can still access that information. Okay. I'm so ignorant on what's available. I didn't even know that. Very good. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? This is excellent. Trustee Valdez. Barring none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
For the record, the motion passes 5-0. Very good. Moving on to our meeting. Boy, this is going to be lightning fast. We're at 5:38, and we're going to go to the communication discussion. And Renee.
The first item we have in your handout was a mid-year update for the local control accountability plan. And so we have actually two. One is for OC programs, the other for CCPA. Those are just for you to receive. There's really no presentation with those. It's just their mid-year update that's now required. And then you'll see the whole brand new one come June.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's it as far as
that. We got a
Okay.
few more though. Dr. Bean has some exciting things for you this evening.
Yes. So under the request of this board, you wanted us as a staff to look into potentially creating our own ethnic studies curriculum. We took that request very seriously and we said this is a great idea. So as you know, through the journey in the past few months, we've given you updates, but tonight we're here to actually show you where we are and where we're going. So if we bring Jonathan and Trish up, please. And of course, Alana, do you want to bring Alana up right now too? In a minute, okay.
Okay, good evening, Superintendent Bean, Board President Williams, members of the board, members of the audience. My name is Jonathan Swanson. I'm the director of our Curriculum Instruction and Academic Enrichment Unit. We've met previously a couple months ago. I have with me our Administrator of Humanities, Trish Walsh, as a reminder. A couple months ago, we started by showing an update with regards to our Ethnic Studies course creation for Access. And so here we are, beginning of February, and we're prepared to give you an update as far as where we're at with that process. So for tonight, we're going to briefly share with you our mission statement guiding the work. We're going to remind you of a few details related to the course and course overview. We're primarily going to actually talk about feedback and feedback process for you all. We realize that you haven't had a chance to see content yet, and so we're beginning to get to that stage where we're going to ask for your input, and then later actually also for our public to have a review time. And we have a participant from the community who will be sharing some of her experience with that process. And finally, we'll end with timeline and next steps. I will share that with this, I already mentioned content. Tonight's agenda does not include reviewing content with you all now, but we will outline a way in which you'll be able to access it and provide some feedback and questions to us. So here's our mission statement that the Ethnic Studies writing team provided. It's relatively short, so I'll read it to you all. Our mission is to develop an ethnic studies curriculum that celebrates cultural connections, cultivates empathy, and maintains a balanced and unifying approach or perspective. Through critical thinking and respectful dialogue, students are empowered to explore challenges, legacies, and contributions to society. And so this was a statement that guides the team's work. It's in line with the charge to write a course, and at the end of the process, we hope it's something that will it'll be something that we can judge the curriculum by to say, did we follow what the mission statement was in terms of our writing team?
We talked a little bit about the course last time, so we want to just touch upon the course overview one more time for you. So this will be a standalone course. Sorry for the feedback. This will be a standalone course for 9th through 12th grade students. So that means it is a designated ethnic studies course that's accessible for any student entering or exiting access at different times. So the course will be worth 5 credits, and those 5 credits come from the 5 units in which the course will be organized into, and that will be organized by theme. So our plan is to go ahead with the pilot throughout the 25-26 school year. So that'll allow for timing between now and this upcoming school year to have teacher training, acquire any materials that are needed, and then make revisions as needed once the teachers are using the course in the classroom. Ultimately, we'll be in compliance with AB 101 and the graduation requirement for the 2030 school year. And then finally, and this was Board Member Valdez, your desire to have this course accessible for other schools around the county, the state, and the nation. We will be submitting the course to UC Doorways, which will allow that access. So it will certify this as an A to G approved course, number 1. Want to have that certified for a G, and then it will be open access from there. So we want to talk a little bit about the process we've gone through leading up to tonight. We've really set out to gather as much feedback possible throughout the writing process. So we had writing team meetings interspersed with these feedback sessions that were open to the public. We had in-person sessions with concurrent Zoom opportunities. And then we had the slide deck with the draft outline that we were sharing at the public feedback sessions, along with a Google form that was sent out and shared out with educators in different ways in different realms. So we really were conscientious about informing our writing in order to do the best we could upon the initial draft that we're going to be sharing with you soon. So our community members were invited from lots of different backgrounds and different perspectives, and that was important to make sure we kept an external perspective on the work we were doing. So it wasn't just the writing team. We had this broad range of folks that were able to give us a little bit of their perspective, their input. We had lots of different opportunities for people to engage. So we did ask that tonight Ms. Ilana Mirovich would be here for just a few moments with you all. So if you come up, Ilana. She was nice enough to give her time at these public feedback sessions that we had 3 different dates. It was during the holidays, so we really appreciated her time and asked that she share her experience with the process.
Yeah, thank you for that. Too fun. First of all, thank you, Board and Superintendent Bean, for the opportunity to do this. I'm part of the Jewish community here in Orange County, have been active for quite a while in the communal efforts around the implementation and mandate of ethnic studies curriculum. We've been involved. The mandate itself is amazing, but as you well know, sometimes certain aspects have tried to kind of take it in a lot of different directions. And one of the things that we've experienced is there's not a lot of best practices out there for how to really teach it. The model curriculum that is offered by the state is great, but it is 30,000-foot level. And that kind of puts a lot of burden on the schools to actually, on the school districts, to actually come up with their own material. And in a lot of the meetings that we've been having with school district members, they say, well, do you have a best practice? What, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. And which has created a lot of the issue. And thanks to you all, when we kind of had a conversation with some of you, you said, aha, we should just do it ourselves. And that was brilliant because we are in need of that. And yes, the Department of Education here, starting with the Access program, but the idea of it becoming a best practice that we can share with others, I think is really, really important. We can kind of lead the way. The process, as Trish said, has been amazing. One of the things that we've also run into with some school districts is more transparency, less transparency. When you have less transparency, it makes you nervous. What are they doing behind closed doors? Well, lots of transparency over here. Invited to every meeting, everything is on a Google form, everything is participatory, people on Zoom, people in person. Any input, any feedback, always respected, always received. So I think that's been a tremendous experience. Very, very grateful to that. In terms of the course itself, one of the things that I really love about it, some of the schools that are developing ethnic studies curriculum are spending complete units talking about, let's just talk about minority group A, or let's just talk about minority group B. What the district here has said, and part of it is because of relationship to the access students, is why don't we do it by theme, where we said, let's talk about, first of all, of who I am, who is my identity. And one thing that struck with me, and I forget her name, but she said that in the very first meeting, is this idea of mirrors, windows, and sliding doors. And I think it comes from an author of a children's book, which basically said that in every class, in every ethnic studies situation, we want every student to see themselves in the room, which is the mirrors, to see others in the room, which is the windows, and sliding doors to be able to cross through. And the idea is, if you're going to spend an entire unit talking about one topic or one group, how do everybody else see themselves? And in this particular curriculum, the idea is that we're able to see all of us in that same substance, whether it's talking about history, about how we got here, about our collective struggles. I think that's a brilliant approach, and I would recommend adopting that and recommending that to other school districts. Because again, the idea is to present empathy, to promote understanding, so that we all see each other and we all go, you know what, we all have baggage, we all come from somewhere, but here we are now. And here we are, want to stand tall with that, not necessarily to complain, or as we've been saying, this is not about victim Olympics. This is about how we bring our collective experiences to being better people, right? And to be engaged going forward. So that's kind of my experience in that. I know the course is not yet done. We've provided feedback. I've even been able to share it with some of my colleagues through the Google links. So behind the scenes, I'm saying, what y'all think? So we've been able to gather that, but overall, I'm very, very proud of the process, and I'm thankful for you to make that happen. So.
Thank you. We really appreciate you giving even more of your time, but again, that just speaks to the fact that we really felt that everybody's perspective is important here. And yes, we have a writing team of educators who, they're fabulous access teachers, they care about these students, but having a broad perspective was really important to all of us. So to that end, in addition to access educators, we also have shared this out and had members attending the feedback sessions from UCI, Vanguard, as well as other local districts. So even like I said, when they weren't able to actually attend in person or on Zoom, they received everything after that was shared out at the meeting, so they had the chance to review just the same as if they had been there. So in addition to the actual writing team, other access students, staff, and families also have had opportunities to review and share any feedback. So other teachers, other administrators throughout Access, and we understand that it was on the DLAC agenda, the District English Learner Advisory Committee agenda in January. So then another separate group of parents had the opportunity to review. But I know the point has been to share broadly, widely. Principals have been asked to share, teachers have been asked to share, not only with other colleagues, but with their classes, to start getting that early on feedback.
Thank you. So for our final two slides here, we're going to talk about timeline and where we're headed from here. So if you look at the upper left side, it says board review initial draft February. And so here's where I'd like to talk about your involvement. We realize you haven't had a chance to see the course outline, any of the course materials. And so that's what we'd like to talk about now, is in the next month, we'd like to arrange for what we're calling workshop settings, where based on your own availability, we'll set up some times for you to come, ask questions, see the materials, provide feedback for our writing team so that we can continue to make some edits. Certainly with these, we can't have more than 2 folks per session, but we're happy to work around your availability in the next month for those who are interested in that time. Based on that, our editing team, our writing team will need some time to make some edits. So that's on the next piece there. You'll see course editing February through March. And so the next time you would see us actually would be in April, 2 months from now. And at that time, with the edits that you've provided to us all, with the input that you've provided to us all, we would come back with a plan for then public review. How we would share it out, how we would gather feedback from the public, and again, go through another iteration of feedback and some edits before we move on to final approval. So you'll notice in the green dot it says May, June 2025. The reason there are 2 months there is it depends on what level of public review and feedback we get. So if we don't get too much feedback and we're in a pretty good spot and there's minor edits, then we'd be back with you in May. If there's a good deal of feedback that we have to kind of work through that a little bit, then we'd be back in June. But the ultimate goal of all of this is to have the course approved and ready to go over the summer so that we could move our way forward. So our final slide here on next steps with some tangible next steps are to schedule these workshop settings with you all based on your availability over the next month. We will plan to share a plan for public feedback in the April meeting with you all. The writing team will have continuing ongoing refinement based on the feedback from both of those groups, both of those settings. And after board approval, we will then start preparing to support access in any way that they need our support. Teacher training, planning for the pilot, et cetera. And then finally, for Trustee Valdez, making sure that we have it submitted to UC Doorways for approval so then it would have broader access to those who need it. One final comment that I'll share, not on the slide here, but with relation to the writing team, I just want to give a shout out to our writing team. They've been doing phenomenal work, working really hard to incorporate changes and negotiate through some things. And so just want to recognize that group for the work that they've done so far. But with that, that's the end of our presentation tonight, and be happy to hear any feedback, comments, questions you have for us.
Sounds like you worked really hard. We look forward to perhaps that April, May meeting when you show us more of a draft and more specific information. Good job, Jonathan. Good job, Trish. Thank you, Alana, and to your writing team.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments?
I'm just really impressed. I mean, I know I came up with this idea, but you guys are making me look brilliant.
That's the way it's supposed to work.
And I'm just really, and you know, to the point about transparency, I know that I mentioned that when I first made this request, and I'm just really happy to hear that, you know, through every part of the process, we're bringing people in as opposed to shutting people out. That was very important to me, and I'm just really couldn't be happier about how this is going. And like I said, you guys are making me look like I know what I'm doing. I do have one question for Trish. You said you wanted the course to have a G rating. What does that mean?
The A to G graduation requirements, that would be an elective option. So that would go on their transcripts as an elective, in that, you know, where it's the whole A to G range with English language arts, history, math, all those different graduation requirements. So G is the elective.
I was sort of going to ask about that as well. My oldest boy is a junior. We were looking at his schedule for his senior year. He's going to take an English class and a Spanish class and a physics class and a calculus class, and we didn't know how to fit everything in there. So I guess this could take the place of just one of your normal electives. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So students will have to have this as a graduation requirement by the 2029-2030 school year. So they will have to find a way to fit it in. So the nice thing
that's tougher than you think, right?
Yeah, and a lot of places are offering it for 9th grade students. So the nice thing is we were very intentional about keeping it open for 9th through 12th grade. And with students coming into access at different points in their schooling, having that option was something that was important to the writing team and the access planners.
For the comprehensive high schools, since it's a semester course, at least in this format, it would be as an elective standalone course. High schools would typically pair it with another course, so one semester ethnic studies and another semester something else. So master scheduling wise, that's something that the high schools will be dealing with.
Got it.
Yeah, how do you plan to contact us to come in for the curriculum meeting?
Renee.
Yes. Okay.
We'll be scheduling times too.
Perfect.
So we'll give you some available dates.
Great.
And decide, then if you can let us know, this doesn't work for me, we need nights or whatever. So they're very flexible in trying to meet your needs. And so we'll just see what works best for all
Great.
of you.
I look forward to that.
Can you make sure I understand how UC Doorways works? So we would upload this curriculum to that, and then anyone across the state just has access to it? Is that basically how that works?
Yeah, so UC Doorways is a site for whenever you create a new course, you would submit it to UC Doorways. It's like an online platform, so to speak. And what it is that's the way that courses are approved to be A through G. So A through G is an indicator for what the UC schools and CSUs are looking for in order to be admitted to their schools. So not every course essentially has to be A through G, but it's something that our districts strive for with high school courses. When it's submitted, then they have people who will review the course and actually approve or not approve the course for A through G. And if it's approved, it goes onto the site and is readily accessible for any other high schools, schools that are looking for courses to offer. So it's searchable. They can look for ethnic studies courses, something like this, and our course would be listed there as a course that could be picked up and used by another school.
I just wanted to say thank you. I love the collaboration and I love the transparency. And thank you for letting us know and updating us on a regular basis and inviting us to join you. Thank you.
Jonathan, questions? I'm just have questions that are just being created as you're talking. So this is going to be an online course?
No, this is not an online course. The UC Doorways that I was speaking to is an online platform where they house the courses. So it's like a listing of courses with materials. It does not mean that it's an online course.
Which brings up my next question. Dr. Bean, you can help us. Can this be an online course to where students in other school districts, if they want to come to us and take this course and get a certificate, can they do that?
Yeah, so that's kind of phase 2. So once everything is piloted, we originally designed this to be paper pencil in the classroom or for use with teachers directly with students. But the plan is that it will then be, after it's set, it's approved, it's finalized, it will be put into Canvas, which is our online learning management system platform. So it will be accessible for our Access students via Canvas. And then Canvas has something called Canvas Commons. So then it's kind of along the same lines as UC Doorways, where it can live in this place in Canvas, and then anyone else who subscribes to Canvas would then also have access to the online version of the course.
So let's say somebody in Irvine Unified or Los Angeles or whatever school district it is, if their school allows them to take this online course and prove that they took it and complete it and have the certificate, can that be done?
I believe so.
Well,
once it's in,
we'd have to work.
We'd have to work that out because they'd have to be enrolled because you have to have a teacher of record. And
if they
stuff
have
like
Canvas,
that.
right? Like it has to be through their school district. So if they have Canvas though, and that school adopts the use of that course. But anybody could take the course from, they take the course off of UC Doorways. They could then upload it into whatever learning management system they use. It doesn't have to be Canvas. If they use some other learning management system, someone that works for that school or that district could just upload it into their own platform.
So if a private school wanted to use this, if a charter school wanted to use this, any of our parents in our access programs, they'll be able to do this online, get their certificate, so they meet the A through G requirements. Is that right?
It's,
I want to clarify two
not
separate things.
certificate necessarily. Yeah.
So if it's in Canvas, it's accessible to anyone who's utilizing Canvas to just pull the materials. It's an online, again, sort of a platform to pull the materials. If you're looking for course credit with a different instructor, that would be through a different system. So we're talking about two sort of different things. Access to materials could be Canvas. If you're looking for actual credit, that would have to be arranged for through another.
The LEAs have to accept it as part of their, credits for their high school or their program.
I'm just thinking that so many parents out there may want this. especially if you're a private school and they don't want to develop it. This is something that's free for them, or a charter school, or any public school district.
Yep.
Awesome.
If I may, Dr. Williams, my doggy just got out of emergency surgery, so I'm going to have to go pick her up.
Absolutely.
Good luck. I hope it all works out.
Thank you.
Very good. Jonathan, Trish, the writing team, Alana, thank you so much. Awesome job.
Thank you.
Awesome job. Dr. Bean, you're going to give us an update on our safety program here.
Yes, so as a result of the terrible fires in LA, had some conversations with Dr. Williams, and he requested that we give a report about what are we doing, right? How are we supporting schools? And since this is a part of our 531 strategic plan, school safety, I thought it'd be a great idea to go ahead and give this board an update about that. So if I could bring up Dennis and Dave, that'd be wonderful.
Well, good evening, Superintendent Bean, Dr. Williams, and honorable trustees. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share with you about what we're doing in safety. Mr. Giordano and I are going to talk to you about, as Dr. Bean shared, where this fits in the 531 strategic initiatives and what we've been doing in that over the past months. And so I'm going to advance here and just point out. So here are the 5 initiatives that are part of that 531 strategic plan that Dr. Bean shared about. And you see ensuring school safety is right there squarely in the middle of those. And so when we talk about safety within OCDE, there are really 2 spheres we've got to talk about. The first one is internal safety, and the second is external safety. So when we talk about internal safety, you can see that Mr. Giordano and his team oversee that, and that talks about planning all training and emergency operations related to the safety of OCDE staff, our students, and our property here within OCDE. When we talk about external safety, you can see the team here led by myself and also Christine Lately, who's in the audience. Christine, give a little wave to the board over there. There she is. And that team. And the External Safety Task Force, they really manage trainings for all 28 of our districts across Orange County to ensure their safety teams are informed and prepared, and they serve as the primary communicator in the Emergency Operations Center between our schools and the emergency agencies across the county. So that's our external team. And so when we look at the emergency plan, we talk about 4 phases of emergency management, and you can see those right here. So we begin with prevention and mitigation. That's ongoing, making sure that we're preventing anything that might come in the future. We look at preparedness in the event of an emergency or a disaster. And then we move into that response phase when something does transpire. How do we respond to it quickly and move as quickly as possible to recovery so that we normalize the situation and we're back to business as usual, right? And then that cycle continues on and on. And so when we play that out, when we look at safety, whether internal or external, these are some of the examples of things we do at OCDE. I know it's tiny font up there. You guys have that there in your board packet, but these are just some examples of different things that we do across the board here at OCDE to do mitigation, preparedness with training our different districts and also our own staff internally. What we do when we deploy our crisis response network and others in response to an emergency. And finally, how do we recover? And so I'll let you look at those in detail, but I did want to get to the meat of this where you asked specifically about an example. What do we do in the case of these LA fires? And so prior to the fires, here are the things that we did here at OCDE to make sure that we were prepared for any kind of an emergency. We managed the development of the emergency operations plans and trained countywide our TK through 12 schools. So all 28 districts looking at their plans, making sure the development was in place and they were ready. We organized the communication network for all the district agencies in Orange County. So each district, we know how to communicate with them. They know how to communicate with us and also with our emergency agencies. And we created contact lists for all the districts in the event of emergency. So one point of contact in each of the 28 districts who would work with us directly. From the onset of the fires, you can see there are quite a few things that we did here. First of all, Dr. Bean reached out to the superintendent of LACO, Deborah Eduardo, to offer immediate assistance in any way that possible. And so they communicated throughout. And then we as a team monitored what was going on in Los Angeles and in Orange County. And so you can see the list of different things that we did there. We looked at weather, red flag warnings, high wind advisories, air quality, and we're determining the safety situation, not only in LA, but along the border there coming into Orange County. Would it impact some of our districts? Looking at how students who were impacted there may need new placement, and so we looked at all these different factors. We ensured accurate information was sent out to all of our districts, because obviously they're asking questions. Is this going to impact Orange County? Ian Hannigan's Communication and Media Service team meets regularly with each district within Orange County to help craft ongoing information to go out to their parents as well. And then through our own newsroom, right? So we're releasing consistently so that people get the same message and they know exactly what they're doing. But they also actually reached out to LA and worked with their PIOs to help with messaging as well, a regular work group that they have. Our student services team has been working with LACO to help displaced students relocate to OC schools. So a few of our districts have helped with this, namely Irvine, Newport Mesa, and a couple of others who actually accepted some of those students who were displaced from the schools that were affected. And our crisis response network is currently still working in LACO. So we have 8 of our staff that are out there helping in the impacted schools with counseling. You can imagine when something this big happens, they begin running out of resources as far as counseling. And so our team is there right now helping with that. Not tonight, but throughout the week here. And we organized a donation from OCDE for families impacted by the fires. So quite a few things that we've been doing on an ongoing basis. So this graph kind of shows you what that all looks like. In the event of an emergency or a disaster that might happen in Orange County, first of all, the Sheriff's Department oversees the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center. And so they would activate the EOC and say, here's an event, OC Fire Authority, Healthcare Agency, Air Quality Management District, National Weather Service are all included in this communication directly with us. And you can see the two-way communication that comes down to us through Christine Laley and myself to make sure that we're hearing the most updated information that goes directly to our superintendent, Dr. Bean. He organizes all the communication with our superintendents to make sure we're all on the same page. Whoever's impacted, if it's a countywide event, then it's going to be all the superintendents. But sometimes, if you think like the airport fires last year, it would be only a couple of impacted districts, like Saddleback, I think, was most impacted. But he would communicate with them, and then we would be communicating with those department leaders within the districts, the safety team, to make sure that they have the information they need. We also not only communicate with the school district leaders, but charter schools as well, so everybody's getting the same information. And then also out in the community. So as part of that ongoing preparedness that I talked about at the beginning, you can see this is a small list of some of the offerings that we share out with all of our school districts and with our charter schools. So I won't read through them all, but you can see whether it's earthquakes, fire preparedness, planning for evacuation drills, that kind of a thing, getting their operations plans and their teams together. We provide that training ongoing for their districts every year. So I'm going to now hand it over to Mr. Giordano, and he'll talk about our internal team.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Cole, and good evening, President Williams, members of the board. As Mr. Cole shared some information tonight regarding the external safety supports in place for our 28 school districts and the charter schools here in Orange County, I'd like to share some information with you tonight regarding the internal safety measures that are already in place here at the Orange County Department of Ed and some additional actions that are planned in the coming months. As you might be aware, our department has an Emergency Operations Center plan that's already in play. We refer to it as our EOP. And the department also provides some ongoing safety training for our OCD staff. The EOP was last updated. This was back in July of 2021 and includes the 4 phases of emergency planning that Mr. Cole referenced earlier in his presentation. And this past month, our staff met with an independent expert who's currently in the process of reviewing our Emergency Operations Center plan. The consultant will also be reviewing our Emergency Operations Center organizational chart, and then the roles and responsibilities of all of our Emergency Operations Center designees. And then over the next few months, we'll also be evaluating any additional safety equipment or emergency supply requirements, along with any additional training for safety personnel that might be required. Now, as part of that Emergency Operations Center plan, the department has employees that are located across our organization that are designated for specific emergency preparedness and operations responsibilities. And it includes, but it's not limited to, that Emergency Operations Center designees' roles and responsibilities. And so, for example, our risk management team has put together a group of safety committee accountability leads representing each division here at our Calmus location, as well as other administrative offices, and including representatives from both our access and our connections programs. And then this year, the group met quarterly. This was to plan for the Great Shakeout that we held back in October. And the group also serves as an open forum for any safety-related questions and concerns that come up from our school sites. And then recently, our risk management team expanded this group to include more staff that are interested in safety and emergency planning, of course, with the goal of improving the department's emergency planning and our emergency response efforts. And of course, our school programs have their own safety councils, and both our facilities and operations team and our risk management group both participate in those meetings. And so with a strong history of providing some emergency training opportunities for staff here at the department, our risk management team has put together several training opportunities for staff over this past year, including emergency preparedness training, CPR training, first aid, active shooter, FEMA recovery operations, Narcan and EpiPen, fire safety, hazardous materials, defensive driving, injury and illness prevention, satellite phone usage, and then also on personal protective equipment. And additionally, as we update our Emergency Operations Center plan, as well as the roles and responsibilities of all of our Emergency Operations Center designees, we're going to be providing additional training for all of our safety personnel this year, as well as some other staff here at OCD that are interested in emergency planning and emergency preparedness. And so with the assistance of that outside expert we referenced earlier, we're also going to be planning to conduct a full-scale Emergency Operations Center drill. And the idea here is to be able to test and evaluate the capabilities of our EOC by simulating a real-life emergency. And then lastly, here's just a review of some of the next steps that we're planning over the coming months. Of course, with the assistance of that outside expert, we'll be continuing to work on updating our Emergency Operations Center plan, including the assigned roles and responsibilities of all of our EOC designees. We'll also complete a full inventory of our equipment and supplies, including our mobile command center, and then conduct a thorough assessment of the additional training that may be required for our safety personnel. And then as discussed, we also plan to conduct that full-scale Emergency Operations Center drill. And so that does conclude the presentation for this evening. However, included in the presentation appendix is some additional information regarding examples of recent and ongoing training opportunities and related initiatives. Also included is some information on future training plans, a listing of the primary emergency networks and resources, as well as some key policies and related documents. And so with that, we'd like to open up to any questions you might have.
Thank you. I really appreciate that we're constantly keeping safety top of mind and appreciate this. And, you know, our last meeting, I had to unfortunately report on a student in La Habra who had been killed walking to school, hit by a car. And this month we had 2 boys on an electric bike hit by a car. One died, and the other, last I heard, is in critical condition. So up in La Habra, we're having a tough time for sure. So I've been really mindful of, you know, I remember being on the city council. We had the Safe Routes to School funding, trying to improve intersections and, you know, crosswalks and things near schools. And I don't know if we can do anything more to try to enhance, you know, that component as well. I think that was federal money that came to the city, if I recall correctly, but I don't know if any of that goes through us, but I just wanted to maybe make a little reminder that we're having a lot of trouble with traffic and I mean, you know, there's only so much you can do to not have people driving stupidly or whatever, but to the extent we can make those improvements, I'd appreciate that.
George.
Dennis, I think my first question is for you. So I'm told that we have about 20 school sites throughout the county, more or less. Are there any where we need to sort of analyze the outdoor foliage to make sure that things are cleaned up, trees are cut down if they need to be cut down? Is there anything, is that ever an issue? You know, I mean, that's kind of what went on in LA. Seemingly they didn't do the proactive stuff. And I want to make sure, to the extent that we should be, you know, to the extent that, you know, it's in our purview that we're doing exactly that. Are there sites where, you know, we need to look at the external foliage and make sure things are cut back, or maybe we should be choosing a different material for, for a walkway or whatever to prevent a fire, from spreading?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Trustee Valdez. So part of our facilities team is managing all the facilities and make sure that they are indeed safe. And it would include any external foliage, anything close to the building, anything specifically on our property or even neighboring properties. If they began encroaching upon our property, then our facilities team manages that on a regular basis. But I'll let Mr. Giordano add anything to that if you want to about our internal team.
I think he hit it right on the head. Our facility maintenance operations team does that on a regular basis. We have a landscaper that we work with, and so they're continuously going back and trimming back any landscape that needs to be trimmed back. But any type of issues regarding, encroachment of any type of landscape getting close to the property, that would be an issue that we'd be working with our landscapers. So yeah, that definitely would be handled through facilities.
Our schools also have to do monthly safety reports. And so if they noted that they had some type of issue, that's one of the mechanisms to get them worked on also.
So you guys, all three of you feel like this is definitely being handled. We are on top of it. We are.
Yeah, I think one of the unfortunate or fortunate, I'm not sure which one is, we're mostly in more urban settings. We don't really have a lot of foliage, except for our Rancho Sonata site, obviously. But we don't really have a lot of foliage around our sites. And so I think Harbor Learning Center North, if it's the lot is vacant, which seems to always have something else there, that's probably our only site. So kind of unlike some of the other areas where they were in more suburban areas.
And Mr. Giordano, this one's for you. So as a Board of Ed trustee, I've sort of been pondering this issue now for more than a year. The issue of, resource officers at every school. And I haven't brought it up here. This is kind of serendipitous that you kind of that we're talking about this tonight. But I'm pretty sure Harbor North has a resource officer at that school because someone needs to monitor the metal detector at the front.
So it may not be a resource officer, although it is something we're looking at. Some of our sites are co-located with probation officers, though, which are similar. But I think it's looking at the individual sites. A lot of our sites are very small. They could be 2 teachers. So I'm not sure it may not be feasible to have one at every, but I think what Annalee and her team have been looking at is looking by areas. And maybe one that could go to multiple sites. And so normally for an SRO officer, you have to contract with a city or sheriff or something like that. So they are doing some homework on that right now. We do have some, from a safety piece, we have restorative justice. Is that the right name? Thank you. I'm looking at the team. That kind of act as kind of a security type piece though too. If that helps.
So, I guess the staff should know, I am not opposed to that. I know many people out there may be. I am not opposed to having an SRO on site. And it sounds like Annalee's already in some way looking into this. Can we get some type of report on that? Maybe not next month, but the month after?
Definitely think you're going to see some of that written into the LCAP. So they are planning some of that for the next year also. So.
Oh, there's going to be a recommendation for an SRO or SROs?
Well, I think it's just the safety components in general, but she is specifically looking at an SRO for areas. That is something they're researching and having conversations with right now.
I'd like to hear about that. I think that's important enough that it should come to the board and we hear a presentation on that. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
No, I'd love to hear it. I know it is cost prohibitive. I know we went through that in Los Al where they had a shared resource officer. You just kind of hope they're at the right place at the right time, which, but I'm absolutely for it. I think the more security we have in our schools protecting our children, parents should know that their children will come home safely from school every day. But I know the costs are very prohibitive. But yes, I'd be very interested as well.
Mr. Giordano, you have a very interesting job title here because you go from accountant who does all the quarterly presentations to actually a safety guy. So what's your job title here?
You're serious? It's Associate Superintendent Administrative Services. And so actually, when you think about safety planning, right? It typically falls a lot of times on the risk management side, and that's why I'm up here tonight, because it
Makes
is a
sense.
risk management component. Yes.
Dennis, you've been working with the Sheriff's Department for quite some time now. As far as active shooter drills, do every school district have a plan, and are they practicing and getting ready for that terrible, terrible and tragic event? What is the status in the individual school districts?
Sure, I can say that all 28 of our districts have to have that as part of their safety plan to be comprehensively safe. And not just a plan for active shooter, but any person who's not trusted on campus. So the way that you most, when we talk about mitigating something, is you control how the school is accessible and that sort of thing. So it goes right down to the making sure every person on campus is supposed to be there.
So every school district has a
every
plan
all
in
28
place.
districts.
Okay. And we have a plan in place for our kids in our schools here. Okay, because bad things do happen. They come in the most unexpected times. The fire that we had last year with the Saddleback community at risk, that came very close. That was very personal. Were we active in that fire? Did we send our command post out there?
Yeah, so actually that graphic that I showed you there was in play throughout that entire event. Ongoing communication with Dr. Bean, the superintendent there, ongoing communication with Christine Laley and the EOC to make sure that we had every bit of communication with them, right down to some minutia, like where do we take animals that need to be relocated? Literally, it's all been thought out countywide. We're a very well-prepared county for this kind of event. So all of that was shared on a daily basis with all of us. Where would people go if they need to be relocated as a family? All those sorts of things.
In our command post, it's a mobile post. All the walkie-talkies and pack sets are all charged up, and it's routinely maintenance and looked at and serviced.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Go for it.
Yeah, so we do. We have a mobile command center that's located out in the back of Building C area, but we're actually looking at that today. It definitely needs some TLC, and so we're going to be going through that. And as part of the inventory that we talked about, we're going to be inventorying that mobile training
Renee, when
facility.
did we get that mobile command force? A couple decades ago after 9/11.
I don't think it's been a couple decades, but probably over 10 years. Yeah,
It's pretty old.
It's been a while. We do have satellite phones and then some other things that we already have, but I think they're looking at updates. And, technology changes constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we found at the site is, they have satellite phones, but I'm not sure they always can find out where they are, if they're charged. And so I think doing more ongoing, constant training is going to be really important for us. And if I could just add also, I think Dr. Williams, you probably remember this, but for those board members, we do also run what we call a relocation site. So all of our business systems, which all of our districts rely on, our payroll and all that, we also have a site in Arizona where we have redundant servers. And so if we were to have a major catastrophe at this site, all the districts could actually still access and run payroll, which we felt was pretty important. So that's thanks to the board in approving the budget. That is part of that. So all of our business types of functions are available even if we had some God-foreseen accident here. And if districts had it, we could also move them to different places to have them access the system also.
And if, Dennis, we need to update that command post, please let us know, because the budget's going to be coming up, and I know that needs some maintenance and some money put into it to make so it's functional in the event of a tragic emergency.
Well, anytime you say you want to spend money, I'm glad to help.
Easy there. He does not speak.
So as long as it's not on attorney fees, we'll be fine, right? As long as it's for kids. Okay. Thank you so very much. Any other questions or anything like that?
No, thank you for the update.
This is a great presentation, Stefan. I so appreciate this.
Great job, guys.
Do you have anything else to report?
No, that was
That was it? Okay.
Great.
Yep.
I love what you're doing in LA and lending a hand and all that. Love that collaboration.
Okay, Renee, do we have any announcements?
Yes, so the first thing is our next board meeting is on March 5th. The submission deadline is February 19th with the packet delivery on February 28th. we'll include the second enter budget. I was like, oh, that's too early, and I realized it's March already. We also have Week of the Young Child, Day of the Teacher. These are our normal resolutions that go in those months.
Sure.
April is Public Schools, Classified School Employees Month, Week of the School Administrators. April is Friday Night Live Month, and so you'll be seeing a lot of the resolutions on there. I also wanted to give a little update on the boardroom, have a conversation about some specific changes. So what you have in here, we've had some requests to have maybe more space at the dais or an attachment for other staff. And so that's what you see there are some options that we could add to that. We had talked about expanding the board chambers to make it a little bit larger. So we have done a quote for that. And so that would basically take out, okay, Dave, where are you? I think it comes out to this line about right here.
It does.
Okay.
Where this first track is.
First track is. And so it would make the boardroom a little bit smaller. And so right now our cost estimate on that is a little over $30,000. But then if you wanted to look at redoing the dais, I also just threw it out there, you could relocate the whole dais and update the whole room, which would be a major project. And that would be, you could flip it to have it, say, the dais here facing this way, kind of reformatting the room. That would be obviously a much larger expense. I don't have a bid for that yet but I think the off-the-cuff estimate they gave us about $600,000.
Oh,
It'd be pretty major. And so,
that's too much.
yeah, anytime you're talking about infrastructure piece, it's a lot. And so, and this room will probably be used more for just specific meetings and board meetings once the conference center, because right now we really need flexibility at this room because it's doing a lot of double duty. And so once that room opens, this will be set more for the board meetings and just other meetings. But so that is my update. I'm not sure what your thoughts are about expanding the room, or that came from comments from the board. So
I have no problems with expanding. It's a little bit tight right now, especially as we're having more and more people attend closed sessions.
Okay.
Yeah, that room definitely needs to be, in my view, it definitely needs to be expanded.
Okay.
I guess my question is, as far as these options for the dais, at least for me, $600,000 is too much to redo
it's
it.
not
but
to add those. These would just be to add extensions. Those aren't very costly. The $600,000 is if we relocate the dais to here, facing that way. It'd be relocating the whole room.
So option 3 would be expanding that area?
It would
over there?
just be adding, it's just adding like a desk here with a couple seats.
Yeah, I'd like to see
Those are pretty
our GC
inexpensive.
up at the dais. I think if you go to other boards, they always have their general counsel
Well,
at the dais.
That's interesting that you say that, because I have not seen, I've looked at every single school district and county board, and I have not seen one yet.
Yeah, it's not a county board. City councils do it.
City councils, and so, but we are talking about having, yes, they could have, Drew would want to move down there, and then we could have him up here, but that's some of the options.
That's just a desk? So it wouldn't be cutting out that wood and
No, it
extending
would
it?
just be adding it on. Kind of like if you see the sheriff's desk, it would be something similar, and it'd be mobile, so if we use the room for something else, they could be there.
My concern is if we expand and add all this, how much are we going to cut out of? Because we don't want to minimize our audience. If anything, we want more participation. So what would that do to the audience?
So basically, when you see that those doors, you would lose from those doors forward.
So how many, I think right now we can host about 200 in here, is that correct? I kind of remember that from one of our forums.
There's a sign over there somewhere that says what it is, and I cannot remember. It's about 180 maybe.
Okay.
So you made about 30, but we would have to look at maybe relocating the podium over here is one of the things we talked about in the middle somewhere. So I don't think you're going to lose that much with it.
Okay, yeah, that would be my only concern, is I wouldn't want to lose from our audience.
Maybe 15, 20 seats.
Very good. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Very good. Committee reports, board member comments.
So Vice President Barkey and I on the legislative committee, we did get an update from our state contacts. The governor submitted a budget, and the numbers were significantly improved upon from last year. And then it burned up literally and figuratively, unfortunately, with the fires. Now the fiscal impacts of the fires are going to be felt, and so it's back to maybe a tough budget situation. Did I fairly summarize that, I think?
That's a good summary, yes.
Would you agree with that, Renee?
He's still being optimistic, and I can't quite figure out how, but
There's only $250 billion worth of damage. It's nothing.
an interesting topic for ethnic studies. He did not provide any funding in the budget for that yet, so it could mean that it's actually not going to be implemented by the date that he says. That's a wait and see.
Interesting. The other thing, we're kind of waiting. A lot of President Trump's appointments are getting Senate hearings and confirmation votes, but not the Secretary of Education yet. I mean, so he's nominated Linda McMahon, but her vetting and Senate confirmation is kind of on the slow track. So for the time being, from the sounds of it, so that's maybe I thought worth mentioning. Anything else?
No, that's a great report out. I was just going to mention myself, I think Dennis, Dr. Bean, we went out to Vista. They opened up their new district offices. It was exciting to see the growth here in Orange County and their growth overall. And now with Colin being the superintendent of the organization and their great partner, their scores are great. So that was great to see.
We doing board member comments?
Correct.
Renee, were those slides able to?
Yes, they are. There you go.
So.
Hey, look at that guy.
I was busy a little bit this month, and I'm very proud that I was able to collaborate with the Santa Ana mayor, Valeria Mescua, on a piece that got published in the OC Independent. As many of you know, there's a lot of teachers that are losing their jobs in Santa Ana, and we felt it was important as two elected representatives of Santa Ana to speak out on what we believe, some of that root cause is for declining enrollment in Santa Ana. So I invite anyone who sees this to take a look at the piece that we jointly wrote. I think we're both very proud of that, and so check it out at your leisure. The next thing, this is sort of a dad talking, but
You made this an item?
I sure did.
Good for you.
So, well, I remember you talking about your son's test scores once. So I'm
That's right.
So, as many of you know, I'm a baseball coach. It's my second part-time job after this one, and my son plays on an extraordinary team that's based out of Fontana. I take 2 trips out there twice a week, and the Travel Ball Rankings website ranked my son's team, ZT Prospects Gomez, #1 in the nation. So, and that team that's #1 in the nation, if you know anything about baseball, the #3 hitter on the team is your best hitter, your most consistent hitter, and a power hitter. My son hits #3 on that team. So,
I'm impressed.
Before I forget to, Dr. Williams, as luck would have it, I've got my work schedule. I have to do some traveling, and once you know, I'm going to be out of town for both our April and June meetings, so I'll need to do that fun Zoom thing, and it's always so embarrassing. You're like this imposing picture up on the screen, but that's okay.
No problem.
You look great on there, no worries. You look great.
Mary, do you have anything to contribute?
No, I contributed my Vista story. I'm good, thank you.
Okay, very good. Dr. Bean, anything?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second, we're adjourned.